And they really suspected that this individual.
We are recording.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jason, for this wonderful introduction. And for those of you in the planetarium, thank you so much, Jenny, for offering us this space. So beautiful to be able to be in a quiet space so that we can all practice together. And welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Today is our second session, and I'm super excited to be able to share with you a practice that is so unique and so helpful in our daily lives. So as Jason mentioned, my name is Ruth Deese. I am a qualified mindfulness-based stress reduction instructor trained by UCSD Center for Mindfulness. And today we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into what mindfulness is. And I do want to share with you just what the format of today's session will look like. I will be sharing a bit of content for about 10 minutes. Then we will shift into a guided practice. No experience necessary. All you need to do is follow the guidance of my voice. Then we will move in for about 5 minutes into Q&A. So if you have any questions, or this is even an opportunity for reflection, just what was your experience like with this practice? And during this Q&A session, we will stop recording. So please feel comfortable enough to be able to share. So I'd like to start off first with defining what mindfulness is. And I am using here a definition by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who was the creator of the MBSR program, which I'm trained in. And here is how he defines mindfulness: is paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So can we be here in this moment? And can we also practice being here in this moment without any type of interpretation that sometimes leads into judgment and categorizing? I would also like to share with you, in MBSR, we start off most of our sessions is with inviting you to set an intention for your practice. So setting a certain attitude when it comes to practicing mindfulness before your session begins or guided practice begins. And I'll just go through some of these very quickly, but can we set the intention of non-judgment, not categorizing? Or perhaps it's being patient, not hurrying things up and wondering, when is the session going to end? Perhaps it's setting an intention of being here with a beginner's mind, as if you're here in this session or listening to the guidance or information as if it was your first time. Can we practice acceptance, accepting things for how they are versus how you want them to be? Non-striving. Can I allow things to unfold instead of expecting a certain outcome? Can you trust yourself? Can you trust the practice that it will unfold just as it is? And letting go. Can I practice just letting go just for this moment instead of holding on or wanting some kind of attachment? The practice of generosity, showing generosity to the situation, perhaps others, maybe yourself. And lastly, maybe setting the intention of appreciation. I also want to mention that, often mindfulness and meditation are clumped together. And I'm here to share with you that mindfulness is an umbrella for many practices, and meditation being one of them. But other practices can be maybe guided imagery. Perhaps in this situation, it's how do we train our attention? How do we train concentration? And that could be done in different ways. When we often think about meditation, we think about a practice that we're going to do today where you follow someone's guidance, where maybe you anchor your attention to the breath or to sounds or to physical sensations. There's a formal practice called the body scan, where we start from our feet and work our way up to a head, where we focus on different body parts. And then we have walking meditation that's also considered a formal practice, where we're really focusing our attention to movement of the body, such as lifting your foot, feeling the sensation of your foot being lifted from your knee to your thigh, and then just feeling what the senses that you feel in your body as you're placing your feet down on the ground. I also want to mention that often our mind wanders into thinking, planning, ideas, and that's completely fine because that's what our mind does. But in these practices, we want to focus our attention to the present moment. So when your mind does wander to other things, the invitation here is to gently bring your attention in a kind and a very gentle way back to the practice. So it might be the breath, it might be sounds, it might be body sensations. And then we have something called informal practice, which practicing focusing our attention, such as when you're opening the door. You might notice that sometimes we're thinking about so many things throughout the day that we're in autopilot mode. We don't even think about what we're doing because it's just easy to turn the doorknob. So the invitation, if you're not sitting and practicing a formal meditation, is maybe pausing as soon as you walk into a room, noticing your hand on the doorknob, slowly turning the doorknob, again, bringing your attention to the present moment. Other ways could be having conversation with others and being curious about the conversation versus already having, maybe being impatient and already having an answer or a solution for the person you are speaking to. Maybe you practice being in the present moment while you're gardening, maybe slowly eating, appreciation for the flavors, for the textures, the temperature of your food that you're eating. And if any of you are still washing dishes by hand, maybe it's bringing the attention to the soap suds, to the water, maybe the dish that you're washing. And just every time the mind wanders off, you're bringing the attention back to what's in front of you. We often call mindfulness a mental gym workout. The reason is why we do that is think about when you go to the gym or when you exercise or you use your fitness center. Many times we're focusing our attention maybe in building the bicep. So every time you have maybe a 5-pound weight, you bring the pound up with your hand, you're building that muscle, which is your bicep. With mindfulness, it's the same practice. Every time the mind wanders to something else, as I mentioned earlier, whatever it may be that you're thinking about, every time you bring your attention back, you are building that muscle, which is the brain, to bring the attention back to the anchor, to the present moment. I also want to mention this takes patience and it begins to take time for you to gradually begin to notice a difference. And what might you notice is maybe attentively listening to the other person that you might be having a conversation with. You'll know that this practice of mindfulness is making a difference in your life when you're able to practice a little bit more patience. Maybe you notice that in a heated moment or difficult moment, you're not as reactive. You can take a pause before responding. Maybe you've even noticed a change in relationships with either friends or family members. So you do slowly begin to see a notice, but just like with exercise or healthy eating, we do have to practice frequently. So how do we practice? So today's practice, really all you need to do is allow my voice to guide you. I will invite you to find a comfortable position, and depending where you are currently at, that could be lying down, seated, or it could also be standing. Also, the invitation will be is you can keep your eyes open, you can close your eyes, or you can lower your gaze. The most important thing about this practice is that you are comfortable and that you have plenty of options. So know at any moment, if something you're not really feeling comfortable with in terms of what I'm guiding you with, know that you have options to just let go of the practice. Perhaps it's move your attention to a different anchor. And as I'm suggesting this word anchor, I want you to think about what's going to draw you to the present moment where you feel comfortable to do so. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it could be sound, such as my voice. It could also be sensations, such as your feet flat on the ground, physical sensations, or your hands on your lap. Or it could also simply be what you see in front of you, so sight, right? Not focusing on anything in particular, but seeing what's pleasant in front of you. So know that you have different options. So today's practice, because of the setting that Jenny has offered us, the planetarium, I thought today we would focus on awareness of senses. So sight, touch, hearing as well, maybe even taste. And I'll guide you through each one of these senses. So let's go ahead and begin. So the invitation here is to find a comfortable position. A position that's not too rigid, but yet you are still alert. And to help us find a little bit of grounding, the invitation here is to take 3 deep, long breaths. There's no need to rush. We've set this time aside to be here to practice together. And at the bottom of your exhale, allowing your breath to come to its own natural rhythm of breathing. So we're not here to modify the breath, to fix the breath, or to breathe in any particular way. Allowing the body to naturally breathe. Allowing the shoulders to move away down from the ears. Perhaps softening the jaw. Placing your hands comfortably by your side or on your lap. Bringing in some stillness into this moment. Feeling your feet flat on the ground. And if your chair is reclined, just feeling your feet against the surface that your feet are in. So your socks, your shoes. And if your eyes are closed, the invitation here is to gently open your eyes. And we will begin with the sense of sight. So perhaps looking around the environment that you're in. And not trying to find anything in particular. Simply gently looking around the room. Noticing what's in front of you, what's to the left of you, the right, above. And simply looking around without any kind of agenda. And now shifting the attention to hearing. Noticing any sounds, perhaps sounds that are in a distance, or sounds that you notice that are close to you. Again, allowing yourself to receive sounds versus searching for sounds. These might be external sounds, internal sounds, simply becoming aware of sounds. And now, noticing that you have choice to shift your attention to physical sensations. Physical sensations might appear as your hands on your lap, maybe your hands by your side. Perhaps it's your feet against socks, shoes, the floor. Maybe it's the clothes against your skin. Maybe there's a sense of temperature changing, cool, warm, hot, or neutral. Again, not looking for anything in particular or judging, simply noticing. Perhaps it's the air against your skin. And once again, noticing that you have choice to now shift your attention to the breath. Noticing the breath as you breathe in. And noticing the breath as you breathe out. And maybe your mind has wandered. That's totally fine. Gently bringing your attention back to the breath or back to the anchor that's most comfortable for you. And meeting the breath wherever it is in this body. And perhaps noticing where you might feel the breath the strongest. Maybe you feel the breath in the nostrils, the cool air as you breathe in. And nice, gentle air as you breathe out. Or perhaps sometimes the breath can be felt in the chest area, the lungs. The sense of expansion as you breathe in. And a softening, a letting go, a contraction as you breathe out. Again, there's no right or wrong way. to maybe where you sense the breath. And maybe placing a hand on your belly might be helpful, as here too in the abdomen is where we might feel the breath as well. Arising as you breathe in, and a softening as you breathe out. Sometimes we can imagine the breath such as a wave in the ocean, coming and going. Inhaling and exhaling. And perhaps bring curiosity to every inhale and every exhale. And if the mind has wandered, bringing the attention back to the present moment. And maybe if it's comfortable for you, extending some gratitude to yourself for making time to be here, for allowing, or maybe you're hearing a bit of sound that might have been distracting. Gently bringing your attention back to the breath, back to extending some gratitude. Maybe gratitude for the ability to notice the breath as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Maybe extending gratitude to having this space to gently practice whatever is most comfortable for you. Before we bring this practice to a close, the invitation here is to gently let go of the breath and collectively taking one deep, long breath together, inhaling and an audible exhale if it's comfortable for you, letting go. And if before we close today, I just want you to take in the sensation that's being felt now. Perhaps sensations in the body, any thoughts or feelings that have been generated from this practice. Maybe if nothing really comes to mind or you're not noticing anything, that's okay too. But seeing if you can carry the sensation into your day. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes, wiggling your fingers, your toes, maybe even a nice morning stretch. And I invite you all back into the room, back to our session. And we're going to spend the remaining few minutes. I'd love to hear from you. For those of you that have the capability to share, just what was this practice like for you? What did you experience? If you experienced anything at all, what did you notice? And if you can share with us in the chat box or however you feel most comfortable. And we're going to go ahead and stop the recording, but want to thank all of you